All right, Sully, we got to get this right. Nickelodeon night's coming up. This has to be the best night of the year. We got to nail this thing. We got to get right. Hey, Tony, can you come here for a second?
Hey, what's up, boys?
Hey, we're practicing for Nickelodeon night coming up on April 16th.
Okay.
We were wondering if we could ask you a couple of questions real quick.
I'm not getting slimed, though, right?
No. Sully, show him the bucket. It's empty. It's completely empty.
Yeah.
We're just practicing, camera angles, audio levels, typical broadcaster stuff. You're used to that.
I don't love that there's a towel here.
Don't worry about that.
All
Just
right.
grab a seat. I'll ask you a couple of questions.
All
It'll be
right.
real easy.
Let's see.
right.
What do you got?
First question. Who was the first head coach of the Monsters?
Oh, easy. Joe Sacco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's easy enough, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Second question on here says, when did the Monsters win the Calder Cup?
Seriously? 2016. Duh.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That's just what's on the card.
Okay.
I don't write these.
All right. These
All
are
right.
easy.
Third question. Who scored the game-winning goal for the then Lake Erie Monsters in the team's 7-5 home win over Chicago on March 18th, 2008?
It's a little specific, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's for a big prize,
I don't know.
Don't know?
No idea.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry. The answer is Brent Kelly.
Okay. So is this where you would slime the contestant there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why? Why would you do this to me? Why did I agree to this? Well, I think I'm out of here, boys. Thank you very much. Welcome back, Monsters fans, to another edition of Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine, right here on Bally Sports, Great Lakes. I'm Tony Brown, and we have a big show for you coming up. As always, we'll get things started with headlines and take a look at what's happening lately with the Cleveland Monsters. Also, we've got an awesome PropSwap interview for you today. In fact, it's a little bit of a sneak preview of our Monsters Eye View podcast presented by PropSwap. Our guest, Blake Bolden, a pioneer in women's ice hockey, no doubt about it, and also doing big things right now with both ESPN and the Los Angeles Kings. And believe it or not, she's a Cleveland native. She was in town to help the Monsters with their Women's History celebration presented by Athleta recently. And so we'll hear from Blake as part of our PropSwap interview. We'll wrap things up, as always, with our Monsters Memories segment. But right now, let's get things set with headlines. Up first on headlines, let's talk about big news for a Monsters defenseman that's become really a fan favorite and a favorite amongst his teammates this year in his first season with the Monsters. Billy Sweezy, recently it was announced, signed a 2-year deal with the NHL's Columbus Blue Jackets. Now it's a 2-way deal, so we may still see him in Cleveland over the next couple of years, but that physical dimension that he brings to the game certainly has caught the attention of the Blue Jackets staff, and so congrats to Billy on a huge achievement, his first NHL contract with Columbus, again, starting next year and continuing on into the 23-24 season. Moving on headlines, it's that special time of year in the American Hockey League when college free agents start showing up at the end of their collegiate careers in the professional ranks, and we wanted to highlight a couple of recent signings for the Monsters. We'll begin with young Roman Ashan out of Mike Eaves' alma mater, the University of Wisconsin. Spent 4 years, the Minnesota native did there with the Badgers, and was a big part of things for Wisconsin. At the end of his senior season, though, he signed a PTO agreement, so a pro tryout with Cleveland for the rest of this year, and an AHL deal with the Monsters for next year. He's been wearing number 13 and playing on one of Cleveland's top scoring lines since his joining up with the Monsters here, so watch out for Roman Ashan, a guy who brings a lot of energy every time he is in the lineup. Also worth noting here, a player that was signed to a PTO out of the ECHL throughout the course of this season, Robbie Payne, has been an offensive force since joining the Monsters, and he's now been rewarded. It was announced recently he signed an AHL contract for next year, so Robbie Payne and his creative and dynamic approach to the offensive side of hockey will be back in a Monsters uniform next year, and that is big news. Another big signing is Owen Sillinger. Now, the last name, I'm sure, sounds familiar. He's the brother of Cole Sillinger, who is having an amazing rookie season with the Blue Jackets, played his college hockey at Bemidji State, and after his time wrapped up with the Beavers, he has signed a PTO with Cleveland and an AHL contract for next year, too. So we're excited to see what Owen Sillinger, who was a big offensive threat in college, brings to the table here in the AHL for the Monsters. Moving on headlines, also wanted to say bon voyage to Jean-Francois Berube, Monsters goaltender. Of course, is just a linchpin for Cleveland when he's in the AHL, but he's played great, 3-1 with a .925 save percentage in 4 appearances for Columbus this year. And JF recently recalled again under emergency situations by the Blue Jackets, so hopefully he will have more great success at the NHL level, a guy who has seen a lot of things throughout a long and very successful professional career. And I know I speak for the Monsters players, coaches, and the fans too when I say good luck to one of the really good guys in professional hockey on his recall to Columbus. That's Jean-Francois Berube. And finally, on headlines, wanted to just take a quick check of the standings here as we head into the final month of the regular season. Unfortunately, Cleveland's still on the outside looking in terms of the North Division playoff picture, as the Monsters are currently in 7th place. But while Utica started the season in historic fashion, setting a new AHL record, going 13-0-0 to start the year, they've really settled into first place in the North Division ever since. But between the 2nd position and the 5th place position, which is the final playoff spot in the North Division, we're talking about something like 11 hundredths of a points percentage point separating all those teams. So between Laval, Toronto, Rochester, Syracuse, Belleville, and Cleveland trying to get back in the mix here in April, it's anybody's guess what the final standings will look like in the North Division and who will play who come that first round of the playoffs. Well, that's it for headlines, but before we step aside here on Monsters OT, wanted to remind you guys that right now is the time to join the Monsters Hockey Club with a season membership for the 2022-23 season. When you join today, for next year, you get the rest of this season absolutely free. So that's a whole bunch of free hockey, and joining has never been easier with low monthly payments available. Visit clevelandmonsters.com/memberships to learn more. We'll take a break now on Monsters OT. When we come back, we hear from Blake Bolden, the Cleveland native and women's hockey pioneer. Joins us as part of our Monsters Eye View podcast presented by PropSwap. She'll be our guest today on our PropSwap interview. More Monsters OT next. Stay tuned. You're watching Bally Sports Great Lakes. PropSwap is where America buys and sells sports bets. March Madness is here, and PropSwap is your place to cash in on the big dance. Every season, PropSwappers make thousands of dollars by simply buying and selling college basketball teams. Go to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app. Welcome back to Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine here on Bally Sports Great Lakes. Tony Brown back with you, and it's time now for our PropSwap interview. Now, this is a sneak peek at episode 11 of the first season of our Monsters Eye View podcast, appropriately also presented by our friends at PropSwap. But our guest was Blake Bolden. So Nicole Del Villano and myself sat down with Blake as she came to Cleveland, which is her hometown, to help the Monsters with their Women's History celebration presented by Athleta earlier in the season. A great conversation with Blake Bolden. Enjoy. Here's Blake Bolden from the Monsters Eye View podcast. You're on Wikipedia. You type in Blake Bolden. What's that first paragraph say?
I've definitely looked at my Wikipedia before, so I might have a cheat sheet. Okay, Blake Bolden, born in Euclid, Ohio, native of Cleveland, Ohio, played for the Cleveland Barons youth hockey program, AAA. Went off to Northwood School Preparatory in Lake Placid, New York, Boston College right after, two-time U18 world champion. Oh, man, we could keep going. NWHL 2015, first black woman to play in the National Women's Hockey League. And then I fast forward, I skipped first round draft pick in the CWHL, which was before the NWHL. Two-time champion, four-time All-Star, hardest slap shot winner, twice in a row. Let's go. LA Kings scout, ESPN reporter, and growth and inclusion specialist with the Los Angeles Kings as well.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I
right?
think so. I don't know. Did I miss anything? You guys would know.
No. I think you got it all in there. And I just want to say for the record, that's like quadruple the length of when we ask our players for their Wikipedia intro. That's way more than we usually have to offer. But thank you so much, Blake, for being here. We're so excited to have you, not just on the Monsters Eye View podcast here, presented by PropSwap, of course, but also just here all day long, helping with the Monsters Women's History celebration. And
yes.
I understand that all got started this morning. You got a chance to go back to a rink you spent a lot of time in as a kid and help with some on-ice clinics. Tell us about that.
Well, 30 girls on the ice, which I was so pumped about the turnout. It was so exciting, of all ages, all backgrounds, all over Cleveland, right? Youth hockey. And I told them after, I was like, I'm so proud to see how far women's and girls hockey has come in Cleveland, because I was playing boys hockey up until high school. So I didn't have these girls teams to be able to play on. But it was so much fun. We had 3 stations. We were falling, we were laughing, we were chuckling. And I really can't wait to come back.
Yeah, let's talk about Cleveland a little bit, because of course you're from this area and your hockey roots start in Northeast Ohio. So take us back in time a little bit to your earliest exposure to the game and how you sort of got into hockey and decided you wanted to do this throughout your life.
Yes, my earliest exposure to hockey was back in the day, Gund Arena. You know, Cleveland was just such a hotbed for hockey at the time for me, and I didn't know it until I was 6 years old, and my dad started taking me to these games. And I'm walking around in this arena right now thinking like, wow, everything is so different. But I used to watch Jock Hollander when I was a young girl, and he was obviously a rock star, and he was my favorite player on the team, and my dad knew him, my uncle knew him, so I got access to him, and I just fell in love with it because the game was so fast and fun, and I asked my dad if I could play, and here we are, youth hockey in Cleveland.
How long did it take you to pick up hockey after that? Was it something that was natural for you? Or?
Oh, no. I remember being on the Cyclones in Kent, Ohio, which was the first rink that I ever stepped foot on, and just not knowing how to stop on my left foot for 2 years. I mean, I was going to power skating on Sunday every morning at like 7 a.m. until I could figure out what the heck I could do with these edges.
Well, so that was your start. So Euclid, right? That's where you grew up.
This was where I was born, and
okay.
I grew up all over. I moved a lot. My mom was a single mom. Then she met my dad, who introduced me to hockey, and then I just felt like I was all over the place, playing in Parma with the Cleveland Barons, and so that's mostly where I played.
Great. So defenseman, of course.
Yes.
How did you identify defense as the position you wanted to play?
Well, my coach identified me because I played boys hockey, and he said, you'd be safer back there than as a forward getting smoked. And I trusted him, and then I ended up liking it because I could be quarterback and, control the play.
That's interesting you say it like that, because you don't think about it very, very much, when you have boys and girls on the team together, that your coach would put you back there. So I know you said a little with the clinic, like nothing like that happened for you growing up. So how important is it to have like girls-only clinics to be able to help grow the game?
I can only imagine me as a young girl being able to be on the ice like these girls were this morning, and they had so much fun. I mean, my heart just bursted with all the smiles and all the autographs and all the pictures that they wanted to take. I felt like a celebrity. And so I think it's really important for them to have that.
Well, great stuff there with Blake Bolden on our Monsters Eye View podcast presented by PropSwap. Time for a quick break, but when we come back on Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine, it's part 2 of our chat with Blake Bolden on today's PropSwap interview. That's next. You're watching Monsters OT here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Welcome back, everybody, on Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Our PropSwap interview continues now. We caught up with Blake Bolden, who is, of course, from Northeast Ohio and has done huge things in the sport of women's ice hockey. Right now, she's with the Los Angeles Kings in a couple of different capacities, including as a pro scout. So let's listen in to part 2 of our conversation with Blake Bolden, presented by PropSwap. We're talking here with Blake Bolden. So happy to have her as part of the Monsters Women's History Celebration presented by Athleta here on the Monsters Eye View podcast presented by PropSwap with Nicole Del Villano, Tony Brown here with you. So you said right off the top in your Wikipedia entry, I mean, you hit all the points already. but backtracking, let's talk a little bit about your pro career now and how you sort of, began your career and sort of course, you played for the Boston Blades, like you said, in the CWHL, Boston Pride. You won the Isabel Cup. Like, just take us through your transition into the pro game and then, take us through some of your defining moments as a professional hockey player.
Okay. Graduating in 2013. 2014 from Boston. I came back home to Cleveland when I was feeling sorry for myself when I got cut from Team USA on their way to Sochi. And I had a coach call me and say, Blake, you need to come back to Boston. You need to continue to play. You're still one of the best players in the world. Like, get your butt back here. I will draft you first round. And I was like, okay, let's go. So right after that, I went to the Blades and I had a great time. And I spent 2 seasons there. We won the Clarkson Cup year 2. Mm-hmm. And then the National Women's Hockey League came about where they were promising to play female hockey players. And I was like, okay, well, I'm working a 9 to 5. An extra bit of cash would be amazing. And we won that inaugural Isabel Cup. And that was such a special moment for me. And I think from that moment on, women's hockey has just continued to prosper and grow. And more eyes and visibility for the sport has been really important. And I'm really excited to see where women's hockey goes from here.
Yeah, I was wondering sort of your take on the state of professional women's hockey right now, what's sort of ahead and what the future might hold for, whether it's the PHF or any other league that might come into being.
Well, in my eyes, I would just like to see one large league that all of these girls can play in. Mm-hmm. One league where the girls can try out. One league where the girls can get paid a sustainable wage, right? Because I was making maybe $6,000 a year, and I couldn't live in Boston without having a full-time job. So that is really important, the sustainability aspect of it. And just to get people to watch the game and see how great and how much finesse us females have on the ice, because we're not, stepping up and checking and fighting, but we've got a lot of swag. We've got a lot of great placement. If you look at our scouting reports, I know it's pretty good.
Okay, well, let's talk about, aside from your playing career, you've done a lot of other really, really cool things, including dipping your toe into broadcasting a little bit, working with ESPN and sort of becoming a reporter and seeing the industry from a different side. I love to talk to our players about how they sort of realize as their career goes on that it's not just playing. There's a whole lot of angles to hockey in this industry. So how have you enjoyed sort of that side in front of the camera and sort of joining the media ranks a little bit?
It's different. I can tell you right now it's different being the person asking the questions versus being the person being asked the questions. And I'm definitely learning the do's and the don'ts and being comfortable pulling tidbits out of people, getting information. It's a learning curve for me. I feel like I'm brand new. I'm super green, and it's something that I'm going to work towards getting really good at, but it's been enjoyable this far.
So as you're working in hockey a bit more, I know obviously we work in very different sides of hockey, but still it's, we're trying to work in a male-dominated sport. So how has that been for you transitioning into that? And I know I see this organization and Columbus, everyone's amazing, really starting to adapt to having more women working in roles in different areas. How has that been for you?
Oh, well, it's been incredible working with the Los Angeles Kings since 2020 my career just exploded. Mm-hmm. People are taking notice. I'm just second woman to ever scout in the NHL, and I'm just like, whoa, I can't believe that I got here. This is really cool. I want to make a great impression. I want to work really hard. As I always tell my girls, that it's really important to just try to be bold, be confident in what you're saying. And sometimes I have to tell myself that. I was just telling my fiance on Monday when we had scouting meetings how nervous I was being in a room with people who have been scouting for 30, 40 years and have been playing men's professional hockey, and me being in that landscape and having an opinion and just being strong in that. And it's a challenge, but again, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing, and that's definitely something I'm learning as I'm getting older. I'm just really happy that I can be surrounded by women in sport, because it's not something that you are around all the time, and it's good to have a network, and we should stay in touch. Yeah.
All right, Nicole, let her rip. The signature segment, Nicole's Shootout. Here we go.
All right, our shootout segment. So I will start with the first question. What is your favorite Cleveland hockey memory from watching the games?
Oh, I remember being down in the tunnels, giving nucks to, all the players just walking down, and me having like a little baby lanyard and just being like, wow, this is really cool. I don't see any other kids down here. And Buzz, back in the day, came to my birthday party when I turned
that's
10.
How you're a big deal.
Luckiest kid in the world.
I was lucky, yeah.
Buzz is the man.
All right, who is another female athlete you look up to? It can be outside of hockey, too.
Ooh, another few. I love Candace Parker. I think she is so confident, especially in broadcasting. I want to be literally just like her, just swag, poise, knows what she's talking about, and is just an amazing athlete in general.
All right, and then last one, it's okay if you got to take a second to think about it, but what is the best piece of advice that's been given to you?
Best piece of advice that's been given to me. Yeah, I definitely have to think about it. I think the advice that I'm always giving other people is to figure out who they are themselves, because when I was growing up in the sport, I constantly was conforming and trying to figure out how to fit in. And I think it's cool to be different. It's cool to have different viewpoints and different friends and interests, and just be that and be okay with it.
Oh, I'll take that. That was a good answer. All right, perfect.
That was the cleanest shootout
done.
we've had all year.
It really was.
That was really good. Blake, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and also for everything you're doing today to help the Monsters with our Women's History celebration.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be home.
Welcome back, everyone, on Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Great show today. Time to wrap it up, as always, with our Monsters Memories segment. And this time, we're going to flash back to 2019. It's the last time the Monsters were in the Calder Cup playoffs after the 2018-19 season. Cleveland finished 37-29, 8-2 that year, and it bought them a first-round date in the North Division semifinals in a best-of-5 game series against the Syracuse Crunch. Monsters played amazing hockey at the end of that year, and they carried that momentum into the postseason, and they beat the Crunch in 4 games as they moved on to the second round of the Calder Cup playoffs and a date with the Toronto Marlies in the North Division final. But that's where things came to an end for Cleveland. Swept by the Marlies, who have always been in the North Division, one of the real powerhouse teams. But that was a notable series despite the end result there, as Cleveland welcomed now fan favorite Trey Fix-Wolanski into the lineup for his first taste of pro hockey during that series. Got into 3 games for the Monsters after his junior career ended with the Edmonton Oil Kings, and the rest, as they say, is history, as Fix-Wolanski has become a fixture here in Cleveland and gone on to make an amazing NHL debut as well earlier this season with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that's it for our Monsters Memories segment, and hey, that's it for today's show. Some thank yous to hand out, of course, to Blake Bolden, our guest on our PropSwap interview, to Nicole Del Villano, who's my co-host on the Monsters Eye View podcast. Great job as always, Nicole. And the biggest thank you goes out to our fabulous crew for making the show possible. And yeah, I guess thanks even to Sully for sliming me as we get ready for Nickelodeon night. But thanks most of all to you guys for tuning in. I'm Tony Brown. This has been Monsters OT, presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine here on Valley Sports Great Lakes.